So many times when we're dealing with people who are coming to us with difficult financial situations, a lot of times marriage breakdown or separation has one of the primary causes. And after marriage is broken down, there's commonly an increase in the amount of debt that each spouse will owe. What are the common types of debt that you may see after a divorce or separation? Pam, maybe you can help us through that one.
Thanks, David. When we initially meet with individuals after a divorce, there's usually been a bit of time because they're just unsure of what there actually will end at. Is there going to be a payout required? Where is everything going to fall? And then really not understanding what joint debt means. And so really it's just a bit of an education in the beginning, is understanding that, you have these joints that now you have to figure out how to live on your own. You have a now household that you're fully responsible for, all the bills that are associated with that. And when they initially took out these joint debts, they did budget based on the two incomes. So now that they only have the one and the full household, this can really end. It starts a big spiral in their income and, of course, their debt load. So now when they start progressing through the divorce, and if there's child support or spousal supports ordered, the money they've maybe earmarked to cover off those minimum payments now has to go to that support order. So then now they're in a really tricky spot where the budget doesn't necessarily fit the expenses. And if they've incurred legal costs along the way trying to deal with the separation and or those support orders and trying to get the custody of the kids fixed and how it's all going to work. So it really doesn't take too long to end up with significant debt, even though it's maybe hasn't changed in total, but who's responsible for it and when it needs to be paid, and then just the increased costs along the way through a divorce. So it's really important that when there is a separation, to really sit down and understand who's joint, when is it due, what happens if someone doesn't pay, and what those consequences are to yourself. So whether it's with a trustee or your counsel or just on your own, making sure you understand those full consequences of those debts, the earlier, the better, will help you make your way through your divorce financially.
Thanks, Pam. And what are some of the things that you see in your practice, Donna?
Yeah, those are really good points for sure, as you might be going through an unfortunate breakdown. I think the one thing that I would add maybe as a point to keep in mind as you're sorting through your property settlement agreement, your matrimonial agreements, the one thing to keep in the back of your mind as you are sorting out debt is that creditor is not a party to your matrimonial agreement. The bank, the credit card that you owe money to, and if it's joint debt, so you both are liable legally for it, the creditor that you owe the money to is not a part of your divorce agreement. So, wife may agree to take on one debt, husband may agree to take on another, but the creditor knows nothing about that. So if you have any way to separate that legal responsibility so that you're not tied to your spouse being responsible for paying a payment that you legally are liable for. So that's probably the biggest thing I think I do see sometimes, is being careful of that joint debt.